Hello, YouTubes! Welcome back to James Recommends. It's been a really good year and a half of doing these, and tonight is actually my last night recording James Recommends. Don't worry, there's a bunch because PAX blew up my schedule, and I have like 6 games I'm super excited to talk about, so I'm going to try and do a marathon session and back to back record those because I want to talk about all of them. But really, this has been an experiment to figure out some way to get this to be a show that is easy enough to record, that I can do wherever I am in the world, that we can make sound good and look good enough for you guys. And it's taken us all this time to get there, to hammer out all the kinks. And I super appreciate all of you sticking with me as we tested and iterated, right? Because that's what we do in games. That's exactly how I approach these things. And now we've sort of got it. I want to scale back this show so I can do more things. So don't worry, there will be more recommendations in the future, but I also want to play games and talk about the design as I'm playing them. I would love to talk to you about all media because I think as a designer, it's really important to sort of be a student of media and not just get stuck in games, because if you have more to draw from, your designs will be better. And so I would love to talk about everything from books to TV shows to comics, and so talk about the interesting design and the clever ways they've played with the medium. So in the future, that's exactly what I'll be doing. But that's a couple months down the line. But right now, today, I want to talk about Armello because I think Armello is fascinating. For those of you who don't know, Armello is a digital board game. If you like board games, if you like turn-based strategy games, if you like dark fantasy with anthropomorphic animals, this game is for you. You should play it. Main complaints are that the enemy turns take way too long. If you're doing a turn-based strategy game, you don't have to show the player every single thing the enemy does, especially if a lot of it is sort of tedious routine bookkeeping. Also, you can speed up the animations and stuff the enemy does. There's a lot of downtime in this game. You play a turn, and your opponents, because they show you everything, and the animations take as long as they do for the player. I found myself sitting out just watching the computer do stuff as much as I found myself playing. Oh, and if you're on the PS4, the font size is terrible, but I'm sure they're going to fix that in a patch or two, so I wouldn't really worry about it. But yeah, other than that, interesting. There's some randomized elements that sort of unbalance the game a little bit, but if the video they're showing, wherever they're showing it on here, looks appealing to you, this is a game you should try. It's a high enough quality level that I can recommend it without question. But I actually want to go past the recommendation because my favorite thing about this and what sort of inspired thinking about doing other shows was talking to you guys about some of the deeper things that roll out, the things that these games make me think about. And this made me think about digital board games because I've seen so many ports of physical board games, and that's exactly what this is not. And there's this moment in this game where it's on a hex grid, and if your character lands on a forest square at night, they become invisible. That's not something you can do in a physical board game. And that I found fascinating because to date, we've seen a little bit of it, but most games just take their physical counterparts and port them directly, and so we're not really taking advantage of the digital medium. And so this one tiny element was something that I was like, oh, well, in a physical setting, you can't stealth a thing, right? Everybody will see where you landed, and you just take it off the board, and yeah. And we've seen a lot of games deal with bookkeeping and randomized factors for you to speed up sort of the nature of play in these board games. But I really like this idea, and it's not the first one, right? But it just brought it to mind when I saw it. I really like the idea of the board game is a solid concept. We don't have to ditch the board game just to be in the digital world. And yet at the same time, the digital world can bring so much to board games that we really should be using some of the things that would allow digital board games to be unique, right? To be different than their physical counterparts. And I think we're just scratching the surface. It was really fascinating to me to see that and to start thinking about all the things you could do in a digital board game that you couldn't do in a physical board game while still keeping a lot of the mechanics and sort of the well-known archetypes of these physical board games, because there's a lot there we love. And it would be a shame as we move more and more into the digital age to have that sort of board game feel disappear. So if you're a designer and you're looking at that, that would be my suggestion for this week. Check out Armello, think about these things. And I mean, it's the same thing as Hearthstone, right? Check out Hearthstone and look at all the ways that that is a collectible card game that could not be a physical card game. And then think about how much more you could actually do, how that's just bears minimum, how we're just taking some baby steps here, because I think there's some really exciting games that can be made taking these physical paradigms and figuring out all the cool stuff we could do in the digital world. So this week, James recommends Armello. See y'all next week.